Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is David Schneider. That's D-A-V-I-D-S-C-H-N-E-I-D-E-R. I'm the Regional Director for Convention of States Project. I'm here in support of LR 14 and for Nebraska to exercise its right to call on Article 5 Convention of States to propose reforms which limit the federal government's money, power, and time in federal office. Nebraska has a long history of leading on these reform efforts. I think Nebraska should once again lead in this effort. Nebraska has made many applications for a convention of states in its history. Such applications led to Congress taking note and proposing amendments such as women's suffrage, the direct election of U.S. senators, and term limits on the president. These all started with applications for conventions, and all were adopted right here in Lincoln. To look at this application for a convention of states, you need to consider additional history. 49 states have made applications for convention at one point or another. In all, over 400 such applications have been made. Yet we have never held a convention under Article 5. Despite all these attempts, never have the states met the 2/3 requirement on any subject to make the call for a convention possible. Congress always moved to act prior to the magic 2/3 threshold being met. That was the story from the very beginning of our republic. Virginia made the very first application for a convention of states under Article 5 in late of 1787. The Constitution was newly ratified and the first Congress was about to get underway. The Anti-Federalists were promised protection of their natural rights in the ratification process. Virginia was particularly insistent on the need for amendments to be made immediately. They were not going to wait on Congress. They quickly made application, and I'll quote from that actual text. The cause for amendments we consider a common cause, and since concessions have been made for political motives, which we conceive may endanger the Republic, we entrust the considerable zeal with shown for objecting those provisions, which experience has taught us are necessary to secure from danger the inalienable rights of human nature. The slow forms of congressional discussions and recommendations, if necessary, they should ever agree to any change, would we fear be less certain of success. Happily for their wishes, the Constitution hath presented an alternative by administering to a convention of the states. Today, that's what we're here to ask this body to adopt is LR 14 and to push the movement forward for reforming Washington, D.C. We all know it's woefully broken. You guys have the actual power to fix it. And that's why we're here to help push this initiative and ask you to push this to the floor for consideration by the full body. Thank you, and I stand ready for questions.
All right, thank you for your timely testimony. Let me hit you with a question first. Right now, how many other states are kind of in the window we're in where we're looking at the possibility of doing this?
There's quite a few. Actually, I work in six states myself. I just came from Pierre. They're actively considering their legislation. As we speak, Montana Senate probably is taking a vote on this measure. I'm hoping that we get a positive outcome there today. There's several other in the hopper, but I would say right now with active legislation, we're probably around 5, 6 with many more ready to file this year. We could have legislation rolling in 20 additional states this year.
Yeah, sometimes we forget that.
And to further that point, we're active in all 50 states of the union, so we actually have a grassroots network in all 50 states.
Well, sometimes we forget that other places have to get through 2 houses. We
Correct.
have that uniqueness here. All right, questions for David? Senator Lowe.
Thank you for being here. Which 6 states do you represent?
I live in the state of Kansas, 2 hours south of here in Manhattan. But I have Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota. I have Wyoming, Montana, and the great state of Michigan.
Okay. Why is Michigan a great state?
Just because I spend so much time there. They're a year-round legislature, so
Okay.
it's fun to work in.
All right. And all of the, in all 6 states, this constitutional amendment is identical?
In all 15 states that have passed it thus far, it's been identical, and that's by design. We don't want any kind of legal challenges or anything to the call for the convention, and they're all identical. The ones that we're proposing currently are all identical as well.
So for the people that say this is going to be a wild convention if it ever happens, what do you say to that?
I say that 34 states have already agreed why they're going to meet. They are, and that's a super majority. They're going to keep it to that subject matter. They are agreeing to place further limits on the size, scope, jurisdiction of the federal government, term limits on federal officials, and fiscal restraints. So inside of that would be the germaneness of the topic, subject matter of the convention, the meeting, essentially, the board of directors meeting for the states to have over their creation, which is the federal government.
Thank you very much.
Additional questions? One more for you here. Now, Nebraska has a term limit, or term limits, 2 terms, and they also have a mandatory balanced budget. How many other states that you know of are in that position to have both those requirements?
Both of those requirements, I'm not 100% sure. As far as the balanced budget requirement, every state in the union actually has a balanced budget requirement. Of course, the federal government does not. Term limits, it's about half the states at this point. About half the states I've worked in. I've worked also in the states of Oklahoma, Texas, Missouri. Some of those states have it as well. North Dakota certainly does as well. South Dakota does.
And their term limits, are they similar to ours, which is 2 terms, or does it vary?
They do vary somewhat, but it's similar, 2, 3 terms, something like that. Some are just time in office total, either in the House or Senate as a combination.
Oh, okay. I see.
So there's various different ideas that are out there. And that's the beauty of holding this meeting, this convention, is really to bring all those ideas into that meeting. And the best experiences will make it out of that type of setting. So that's why we don't advocate for any particular, time in office or anything. I think you guys or representatives from other states are going to have the best experience with term limits and be able to make the best recommendations at that meeting.
I'm here live in Philadelphia at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. When you hear the phrase lives, fortunes, and sacred honor, these are the folks we should think of, those who anonymously gave their lives. Well, today you have a chance to volunteer. You need to volunteer for conventionofstates.com, the movement that's going to save the country. These folks are willing to step up and give everything. We need you to give just a little bit. Go to conventionofstates.com and volunteer today.